Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today with someone who I think is a familiar face, although boy, he's been gone a few years, so I'm not so sure. Andy Stewart, who is now the co-chairman of Travello, a host agency that is headquartered in Canada, but is now expanding through its acquisition of Gifted Travel Network and other ways into the U.S. And Andy, of course, is the former president and CEO of Norwegian Cruise Line. First of all, what have you been doing since you left NCL? I know because I see you on Facebook, but that's all right.
It was interesting. I picked an interesting time to leave. So right after I left, COVID shut the cruise industry down.
Did you, did you know that was going to happen?
No, I did not. I did not know that was going to happen. It was interesting. Obviously, it was in a lot of senses. It was blessed timing for me to do what I did. On the other, it was sitting on the sidelines was a little frustrating at a time when the industry was going through the crisis it was going through. So it was strange. It was a strange time. But so I spent the I don't know, first 6, 8 months sort of locked down like everybody else.
Right.
And it was actually a nice opportunity because the kids came back from, well, my son was studying abroad, so he flew back from Barcelona, and my daughter was at college in Boston. So the four of us, we actually went down to the Keys, and we spent 3, 4 months in the Keys,
Wow.
locked down, and had time the four of us would probably have never have had. So it turned out to be, obviously it was a difficult time, but it was sort of, in that sense, it was fortuitous for the family. We got some time that was really unusual when the kids were at that age. So that was kind of how it all started. That wasn't the plan at all. The plan was to travel and spend time with Alison traveling, which didn't work out at all at the beginning. And then it
you
took me
ended
a
up
while.
going to Africa, I think, and a few other places, if I recall. You were traveling a bit after COVID.
We did. We went to Australia. We did travel a fair amount, and I was going back and forth to the UK because my mum was alone during COVID. So I traveled on a hell of a lot of empty planes, where there were 3 or 4 of us on the plane, going back and forth to UK. It was really spooky.
I've experienced that myself, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so and then it took me a while to figure out sort of what was next to me. I did think about jumping back in. In the end, decided that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I set a couple of rules for myself about what I was going to do next. The first one was anything I was going to do was going to be people I liked.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to have a boss in the traditional sense. I think everyone has a boss one way or another, right? Whether it's my wife, the kids, a board, chairman of the board. I mean, there's always a boss, but I didn't want a boss in the traditional sense of kind of one person who can have a disproportionate influence on your life. So then, with those two rules, I sort of set about thinking what I would like to do, and clearly, the cruise industry has always been close to my heart, and the travel industry more broadly. And so I started doing some work for Global Ports Holding. They're a company that have built a pretty attractive portfolio of cruise ports. They sort of started with the port of Kuşadası in Turkey and now have established a significant number of ports across the Mediterranean, and most recently in the Caribbean with San Juan and Antigua, and in the Bahamas with Nassau. And so it's a very interesting business. It was publicly traded, was recently taken private, and so I sit on the board of Global Port Holdings, which is a fast-growing, very attractive business. And then I was asked to join the board of Lindblad.
Yeah, so that was the first time we saw you resurface, and that was that we could visibly. I mean, I don't cover the port industry, so when we saw Lindblad, I said, "Oh, that's interesting." So you were on the board. I did talk with Natalia Leahy, and she said she had actually interviewed with you for the Post, and so then I said, "Oh yeah, I know Andy. I think it's." But it was great to see you there, and so you're still on that board, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a really interesting company. I had not been in the expedition space before, so for me that was a very interesting segment of the industry that I had not been in. So that was very appealing. I also felt there was an opportunity to contribute as the board. It's a super interesting board, but there was less cruise experience on the board.
Right.
So I think they were trying to add some cruise experience. So I think it was an opportunity for me to kind of take some experience from the past and add value there. And I think the company has a very interesting trajectory. I think the partnership with National Geographic is a very powerful one in the expedition segment. They're also expanding with acquisitions in land in that same sort of expedition sort of category, but on land. So I think it's a company that's very interesting. It's publicly traded, has had an interesting growth trajectory, very interesting product, and I think a great opportunity to continue to grow. So I was excited about.
Did you get a chance to do an Antarctica cruise?
I have not been to Antarctica,
Oh
and
my God,
I've not had the opportunity yet. But it's very high on my list of things that I would like to do, and obviously it's important for me to experience the product. So it's definitely on my list. We've been running around a little bit and haven't had the chance to go down.
Well, that was my first experience with Antarctica. Was with Lindblad, so that was
they do a superb job on the expedition side. Sven Lindblad, who the founder and clearly the pioneer in that industry, has been passionately dedicated to delivering the very best expedition experience, and really, that is the focus of that company. We're going to take you places, but when we get you there, you're going to get the real in-depth experience, more landings, really trying to show the destination in the most in-depth possible way.
No, it's a great company, and I was lucky enough, and I've interviewed Sven before, and I'm excited to see Natalia coming from the Seabourn to run it. I think she's going to be a wonderful addition. So we'll see.
She's a great addition. So we were thrilled.
She's going to be my next interview. We're going to try to figure it out. We're trying to get her and Sven at the same place at the same time, which is sometimes challenging. But that's one you'll see on Insider Travel Report. So hopefully in the next month or so. Now,
yeah, we were thrilled.
How did you get involved with Travello? What attracted you to the company, and when did you first meet Maurice Chia, who's your co-chairman now, right?
So I knew Maurice from my time at Norwegian. TPI Canada, as they were then, were a customer, and I'd actually taken him to Cuba when Norwegian was sailing 2 ships to Cuba. He was on one of the early trips we took to Cuba, so I got to know him a little bit there. And when I left Norwegian, he reached out to me. Really just socially, to catch up. He was in Miami and reached out, and we had a good relationship from that. And then mid-COVID, he reached back out to me and said he sort of had this idea about how to develop the TPI business, and how he thought there was an opportunity to extend the business beyond Canada and potentially beyond North America. And we really got along. And I've always had an affinity for the distribution side of the business. I've always believed the travel agency distribution channel doesn't get the credit it deserves for the work that's done in generating excitement about travel, in advising the best travel choices, in getting the right person to the right trip. And in taking a lot of the burden of the planning off the consumer. And so I've always believed it's an opportunity. I've always believed that the profession is underrated. And so as Maurice talked to me about, hey, listen, here's the business we have in Canada, which is a great foundation, sort of leading the host space in Canada. He sort of presented a vision for what he saw was possible, expanding, sort of disrupting to an extent the space, expanding into the US, and then potentially thinking about what you could do beyond those borders as well. And he got me excited about it. And one of the other things I wanted to do was something more entrepreneurial. I've always been sort of in a big corporate environment. I was with Norwegian 31 years.
Sure.
So the idea of being in a more entrepreneurial environment and doing something kind of contrasting what I've done in the past was really interesting for me in a segment that I felt like to me there was opportunity.
Well, certainly
And
you're a name in the industry. Everybody still remembers how you were extraordinarily friendly to travel advisors, and obviously set up programs when you're at NCL that were very travel advisor friendly. So when somebody says Andy Stewart's associated with a project uh, involving travel advisors, I could see a lot of people being very happy that that's going to happen.
it's good. It's good to hear. I mean, it's hopefully that there is some continuation from how I thought about it from the supplier side to the opportunity I see sitting on the distribution side. I've always believed there's a big opportunity. I always believe the profession doesn't get the credit it deserves, and to an extent the compensation it deserves. And so to spend some time thinking about what that could look like, how you could both enhance how the industry is perceived and figure out how to compensate more effectively for the work that's done, I think is an opportunity, and we're going to spend a lot of time thinking about how to address those two pieces to really kind of take the industry forward on the distribution side. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a big opportunity.
Now you have a stake in this, I gather, now with the development and the expansion here and first into the U.S. And why did you decide you needed a sort of a more formal co-chairman role at Trevella?
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I think Morris wanted me to more
I'm
formal.
sure. Well, he realizes the value of your name. You are a brand, believe it or not. I hate to say that. Not I said you're a brand among travel advisors.
So I was happy to have I was happy to be an investor and have a more informal role. But I'm enjoying being more formally involved, truthfully, and it's fun to get back into some of the nitty gritty and some of the detail. Although I'm really not in the middle of the day to day. I'm more trying to think about sort of the bigger picture of the business and help with that journey.
So then, before your announcement that you were joining as co-chairman, Morris had announced that Trevella was purchasing Gifted Travel Network. What do you see as the potential through Gifted for the company here in the U.S. now?
Well, as we had talked about the development of the business, obviously one of the big opportunities is the US. If you want to have an impact on the distribution side of the business, you've got to be in the US. You've got to be in the biggest market, and it's very, very difficult to start from scratch in the US and build from the ground up. So we spent some time evaluating one thing that consistently came up as we talked to people about the host space in the US was Gifted Travel Network. They've done a fantastic job in building that company in a relatively short period of time. I think they're a very well perceived business that has a very high end luxury perception. I think they've done a great job as a member of Virtuoso. They've done a great job building relationships with high end suppliers and in delivering a product that is probably the highest rated education program across all of the hosts. Their travel MBA.
Those are their roots as well. So they came up as a way to train and educate travel advisors overall, and then they developed the host agency as part of that Gifted. But yeah, it is good, and it's nice that Trevella was already a Virtuoso member, and they are as well, right?
That was a very nice synergy between the two businesses. They're focused on education. Their travel MBA is really very highly regarded. And you look at their average sales per advisor, you see that education works. When you bring people in, you run them through a really high quality education program, they come out the other side as really top notch advisors who are selling a lot of travel. And so that just looked like an ideal foundation for us to build a US platform. So so yeah, we closed that acquisition on the 1st of January, and are now planning what the journey in the US looks like with Gifted Travel Network as a foundation. So that was always the plan. The plan was always, if you're going to start in the US, you need to do it with a foundation. You can't, you can do it, but it's very hard to do just starting with a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, of course, the challenge, as you mentioned earlier, is that boy, the host agency business in the U.S. is crowded. There's a lot of different hosts and a lot of different models out there. So you have Gifted Travel Network, but how are you going to distinguish Gifted and Travello here in the U.S. now? What is kind of your selling proposition to good travel advisors who may want to join you and affiliate with you?
Yeah, that's really something we're not ready to talk about all the detail of yet. Okay. We are sort of taking this step by step. The first step was find the right partner to have as a foundation in this market, and that's Gifted Travel Network. We will be dual branded in the US, so we will have Gifted Travel Network and we'll have Travello US as a separate brand. The foundation is going to be that we believe that there is opportunity to do a better job telling the story of the role of a travel advisor, so that the role gets the credit it deserves. Right. Our goal is really going to be, how do we lift the perception of a travel advisor? So when someone says, you say, hey, what do you do? And they say, I'm a travel advisor. They say it with pride and beating their chest, not I'm a travel advisor. And that's super important for us. We want people to say, this is a profession. It's a way to earn a real living. It's a way to build generational wealth. And we want people to beat their chest about the role of the travel advisor. So that's kind of one key cornerstone. Right. A second key cornerstone is we'd like to compensate them better. We think there are opportunities to compensate the travel advisor in a better way than they're being compensated today. Mm-hmm. And I can't give you the detail of that, but you're going to see us over the next period of time roll out the structure of what it means to be a Gifted Travel Network advisor, what it means to be a Travello US advisor, kind of what the path is between the two. And how we think about those two pieces, perception and compensation.
And then, of course, you're also looking abroad. I know I talked to Morris. He said he thinks he could expand internationally, at least in English-speaking countries.
Yeah, we think that's a very big opportunity too. That starting with the English-speaking markets and then potentially beyond that as well. We think the model fits a multi-country journey versus just North America. So yeah, that's definitely the plan for the future.
Well, you're coming back during a time that many people are calling the golden age of travel advisors, travel agencies, which is now we just have to get them compensated better and get the impression of them better. But it's funny, this morning I got a survey from Expedia of all companies that says people are looking for travel advisors. And we're not talking OTAs either. This is from their Expedia TAP division that services regular travel advisors. And I think I'm going to write about it because it's interesting to hear that from an OTA, that they believe this is a great profession. Of course, now, they're integrating with the rest of the business. And so I think, I keep hearing, whether it's Matthew Upchurch at Virtuoso, whether it's John Lovell at Travel Leaders Network, whether it's, Alex Sharp at Signature, everyone is talking about this past few years where travel has expanded immensely, that this is the way to go. The travel agencies are the future.
When I moved here in '97 from the UK, I was with Norwegian. Mm-hmm. Well, I remember sitting in a meeting and I remember somebody saying, so how long do we think the travel agent has? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? And the question annoyed me at the time. And is sort of laughable at this point, right? In 2025, the travel agent has a huge role to play, in my view. And the more I'm on this side and I'm talking to people, the more I see that there's a whole generation of people that don't understand what a travel agent does. They don't understand the model. They don't understand the value they bring. And we have to do a better job as an industry in telling that story about the value of a travel agent. And if we do a good job with that, this golden age can absolutely skyrocket.
Right.
And I believe it can. I really do. I believe the travel agent can play an absolutely critical role and a growing role in telling the story of travel, expanding people's horizons from travel, doing a better job in getting people to the right vacation, telling stories of destinations. There's no doubt in my mind. So I don't know what's better than a golden age, but I think it should be better than a golden age of travel coming up for the advisors, because to my mind, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Now, seems to be the right place at the right time for you now, being part of this new venture with Trevello and Gifted Travel Network. Would you consider seeking other opportunities in travel? I mean, you're on the board of Lindblad. You're now co-chairman of Trevello. Would you try to do some other things, or is that enough for now?
I'm pretty busy, so I'm enjoying life, but I'm pretty busy. So I think I'm good for now.
Yeah, well, you still have to go on that Antarctica cruise. That's
I still have to go on an Antarctic cruise. Yeah, no, and we're living part-time in Spain now. So we live part-time in Spain, part-time in the US. So I'm trying not to get locked into a location anywhere, so we can be flexible with where we are. So
good idea in today's world. Now, would you? You said earlier, you would probably not consider going back to be a CEO of a cruise line.
No, I mean, life is really good.
Well, I remember telling you
those late night calls don't seem so attractive these days.
Well, I remember telling you. You might remember this. We were at a bar on one of your ships back here with NCL, and I said, you can't go anywhere from here. You just leave, and then of course they named a bar after you, and that was the end of that. So that was. I think I told you that. I said, "Well, you got a bar named after you, although it wasn't your full name," and I said that's the end of that. So
yeah, that's always the end of a career when they name a bar after you.
That's right. Well, I do hope that we can get together soon for another beer somewhere, because it's been
Me
too
too.
long. And it's been great to see you here today. And I assume where travel advisors can go, they can go to trevello.com and to giftedtravelnetwork.com to find out more about the opportunities.
Absolutely. It's been great to see you again, James. Thanks very much.
Well, thanks, Andy. We'll see you hopefully soon somewhere, maybe in Antarctica. I went to Antarctica 3 times that year, and the Lindblad was the first. And
Wow.
it was surprisingly luxurious, I got to tell you. And I really enjoyed the experience. And I think I'm done for a little while now, maybe another year or two before I head back, because I saw my penguins and my seals and everything else. But it was a marvelous experience. So yeah, I'm glad you're going to be able to do that. Hopefully, you'll be able to do that soon. Again.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to go down there. It's definitely a bucket list destination.
Well, hope you get down there soon. Again, thank you, Andy, and for all of you out there, take a look at what Trevello and Gifted have to offer, and of course, hopefully you'll get a chance to meet with Andy at one of these events soon. He's a great guy, and I've known him for a long time, and we'll find out more what's to come with Trevello. And this is Insider Travel Report.